it's funny. I was talking, I was talking a little bit today to my lovely aunt, Debbie, in Louisiana. They're holding it down there in Mandeville, Louisiana, if you know where that is.
Okay.
Great place. I love my family. And she said, you know a lot of great people, because I was telling her about who was coming on the show. And I thought, I do. And Terry's one of them. Terry's at the top of the list. So,
well, I'm honored to even have been thought of. I hope I can do it justice.
you already are by being here. So I'm going to give a little bit about Terry for the viewers who don't know about her. She's notorious. You should know her. Terry has been in L&D for 20 years. So if you don't know what L&D is, learning and development, us pros, we just say L&D, or sometimes T&D if it's training and development. She's been in that space for 20 years. She was the director of Cincinnati Works. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Her focus right now is something that I had never heard of until Terry and I talked a few days ago about it. And that's trauma-informed training, it's fascinating to me. And I'm really excited to talk about it. In fact, Terry, first of all, thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Tell us about what is trauma-informed training. Kind of give us the big picture view on that.
It is the buzzword right now that's going around, but
I should know it, but I don't, right?
You will.
Okay.
But it's all about creating environments where people feel safe enough to perform at their best. That's in a nutshell, that's what it is. Trauma-informed training, it kind of shifts the lens. You know how you're talking to someone and you're looking at them and they're talking. Your mind goes to something's what's wrong with them? Trauma-informed care shifts to what's happened to them.
Okay.
And it works from that perspective, from that lens. So when an organization or any type of business intentionally starts to incorporate trauma-informed care principles, then you equip your staff to, one, recognize the impact of trauma, and two, to be able to help people through trauma and how it shows up in the workforce by building safety and trust so that they can feel free to express themselves, to be the best they can, and not re-traumatize themselves. So trauma-informed care is all about taking care of your people.
So, but being in the workforce can be traumatizing enough, right?
It is, because it's all stress.
Sure.
It's all stress. And that's the problem, is that our leaders are those who are leading our teams have to be able to identify when this is happening. You have to look beyond the resume. We know a person can do a job, but what is a behavior that's stopping them from doing it? You can't always say, hey, you just cannot get here to work on time. There may be a problem here. Let's look into that. And being able to have a space where an employee can sit down and have that conversation.
Yeah, I think you're on the cutting edge of this. It was interesting. In the last podcast, I was talking to John Ware, who's a 19-year veteran in the Air Force, and he was talking about what they call it is invasive leadership. That's a typical military terminology for it. Yeah. It sounds similar, because what he was talking about is meeting people where they're at, getting to know what's going on that is, let's say it's a performance issue or something that's affecting their performance or affecting how they're working, finding out what is behind that.
Yes.
And he said it's become the thing to do. Like, it's become accepted rather than just yelling at everybody, which is kind of the old style military way.
Right.
You have a lot better success by getting to know the person. Terry, let me ask you this. What level of participation does the employee have in this process? How do they, is it all the responsibility of the manager, or how does that work?
It works best when it's top down.
Okay.
So, the leader has to take on the role of making sure that this is implemented in an organization. And then once it is, they can then start to recognize it and train all of their staff to become trauma informed. So it's company wide, top down.
Okay. And so that the top down kind of sets the standard for how to do it. Is it something that managers are trained in and trained on how to recognize certain traumatic issues or sort of markers of trauma?
It is. And it's a way that you go about doing that. A lot of people think that trauma-informed care is just do a bunch of workshops, but it's not actually that. It's actually thinking through what your end goal is and putting things in place that will help you to reach that goal without adding additional stress. Or if it is a stressful situation, you can stop and say, how can I make this less stressful? How can I roll this out to an organization, to our team? What changes need to be made? Let me tell you, I was working at an organization downtown, and this organization dealt with people who had been recently incarcerated and they had been released. And our job was to help them to become, to get back into the workforce, overcome whatever barriers they had. So a lot of times they would come to us, a couple of days of getting out of being released. And we redid our whole building. It was a nice, big, tall building, one of those old buildings. We had a nice, crisp white walls. It was beautiful. New furniture, staff loved it. And I was working with someone who had come in. Now we were just talking, and I had to step out for a minute. I came back in, and he jumped. And I said, "Are you okay?" And he said, yeah, it's just everything in here is so white. I feel like I'm being processed.
Ooh.
And we had that same reaction. So what the trauma-informed organization goes out and they bring in someone else to look over it and say, where can we add color? How can we make this more inviting for our clients who are coming through the door?
It's making more sense to me now. It's not so much that you're, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's not so much that you're training managers to sit down and have conversations with people and go, tell me what your trauma is.
Right.
It's more of understanding the populations that are coming from traumatic situations, such as, let's say, veterans, maybe that are coming in from deployment, like you said, previously incarcerated folks, maybe people from that have not had homes, just unhomed population. So that's what it is. You're already kind of knowing a bit about their background. So it's not so much that you're prying into their lives. You already kind of know where they're coming from. Is that better?
And it's going to be different for everyone, but it's looking at what can you do to make sure that they feel comfortable enough and safe enough to do their best. Yeah. So
I'm going to hit you. I'm going to hit you from two angles here. So I'm going to go with, I'm a CEO. I'm a CEO of an organization. I've got 100,000 employees, and I hear about this new thing, trauma-informed training. How do you sell me on the ROI on that? What's my return on investment if I invest in training my people and how to do this? What do you see as the sell for a CEO?
That's an easy one. That's an easy one. Because once you incorporate trauma-informed care practices into your organization, you're going to boost employee engagement. You're going to prevent burnout.
Oh, wow.
You're going to start to reduce that. And you're also going to see reduced turnover. Wow. And that's probably the biggest money saver right there, because your recruitment costs are going to go down, but your productivity is going to go up. Because once employees feel safe and supported, then they start to perform better.
Yeah, of course.
They start to perform better, they stay longer, and they collaborate and contribute more. So it's a win-win for organizations to say, hey, let's look at what we can do to bring in some trauma-informed care principles and build it into the culture of our organization. And it's all about looking at people with empathy and being able to be transparent with them.
That makes sense. And then I like this idea of reducing the stress where you can. I mean, like we said, being in an office, being in work these days is a stressful place. Right. It's just part of it. And we have to accept that. You accept that as being part of the workforce.
Exactly.
We don't have to make it harder than it is, right? And if there's opportunities like this for companies to go, look, here's a way that we can reduce the stress for a chunk of our population, to me, like you said, that's an easy sell. Okay, let's take it down a little bit. Let's go to the manager level. So let's say I'm a sort of mid-level manager in an organization. I've got 10 people on my team. 2 of them, let's say, have come from traumatic previous situations, and I'm being asked to take this extra time to allot care to them and to reach out to them and sort of provide whatever their needs are in regards to their trauma. How do you sell that to me as when I'm looking here going, man, don't I already have enough to do? I got payroll, I got this and that. How do you sell that to me as a sort of mid-level manager?
As a mid-level manager, I'm going to first take you through finding out what your trauma is. You through the process, because you can't help anyone else unless you first understand. You can't lead people through stressful situations if you don't know what triggers you.
We're going to therapy. All right, let's go.
Yes. You have to know what your triggers are, and to be able to say, okay, now that I know that when deadlines come about, and I tend to wait to the last minute, that I'm all stressed out. And this becomes a pattern. Someone who is managing this team is going to stop and say, okay, what can we do to reduce some of the stress?
Sounds a bit like emotional intelligence in some ways. Some of this basic just self-awareness, self-management, other awareness, relationship management, the 4 quadrants, as you know, of emotional intelligence. It sounds like putting that into practice.
Yep. There you go. That's exactly what it is. But understanding that as you do this, you are not only building and feeding into your staff and into your teams, but you're building a culture that's going to be successful. And
that's why you're saying it has to be top down. This can't just be a performative, check the box HR kind of thing.
Right.
You know, do a 30-minute training on this and you're good to go. It needs to be ingrained into the company culture.
Yeah. What I always say is, when your leaders model this behavior, when they are calm, when they have thought things through, when they answer the questions that you pose to the best that they're able to do so, it goes a long way to building a strong company.
This is a real calling, I think, for you to be in this space and to be working here. And I know you've had some traumatic situations in your life, just in our talking recently about it. How has that informed your empathy for folks that have been through trauma?
Wow. It's, I think everyone has been through something. And I think it takes going through something in order for you to be able to feel where others are impacted and how they can be impacted. I have lupus, which affects my eyes. It just goes after my vision. I don't know how many cornea transplants I've had. I don't even count them anymore. But before I had my very first one, I was getting up, going to work, getting in my car every day, driving to work, coming home, driving home, fixing dinner, and doing it over and over and over and over again. And then one day I got up and got in my car and I'm driving to work and I missed my exit. And as soon as I miss my exit, my vision is gone. I can see nothing. And I'm driving. I know I'm in this lane. I know there's an exit coming. And I see Staples, that big Staples building, the red and white. I see that over there and I know how to get there, but I can't see how to get there. By the grace of God, I got there. I got off the expressway and I pulled into the Staples parking lot. And I called down to the Monster office and I said, I'm going to need somebody to come and get me. And when they came and got me, took me to the doctor, and the first thing he says is, well, you're blind. And I'm like, I can't be blind. I've been going through, I drove this morning. I'm not blind. And I was, I was going on memory. I was going so fast, doing so much. My memory kicked in to the fact that I didn't even realize that I was blind. And it got me to stop and think and to look at people differently and to look at what are people going through that they don't even realize that they're going through it. What are they not seeing? And that's kind of opened me up to being able to say, you know what? You got to first stop, take a deep breath and look around and understand that people are hurting, but you can help them and move them along. And they want that help.
Yeah. That's powerful, Terry. That's powerful stuff. Tell us what we can do. Is there an organization if we want to donate, or can we hire you to come to our company? What's the sort of the ask at this point?
You can definitely hire me.
Okay.
I'm on LinkedIn right now, so I can get you some information. Please.
Link in the description below. You'll find it there.
Perfect. I am doing this on my own now, similar to what you're doing. I think this is my niche, like you said, and I'm open to going to companies, and I'm still working with youth and nonprofits. But now it's trauma-informed care as a means of anchoring my learning and development services. So.
Love it. This is so good. I'm inspired by you. You're one of my heroes. I didn't mention this up front, but Terry is, I owe my speaking career to Terry. She taught me how to be a professional speaker 20 years ago, however long it was. Has it been that long, Terry? My goodness.
It's been that long. It was the number one speaking company in the whole country.
And I was with you for 8 years. Oh my goodness.
You were awesome. You know what? It was bringing together all like-minded people, and it was just off the chains. It was great.
Those were good times. But yeah, I owe a lot to Terry Wilson, and hit her up. You get her info is there in the description. Reach out to her on LinkedIn. Say hello, and bring her into your company. Talk about this. Get some training on it. This is the cutting edge. If your company is one of those that says, "Hey, we are progressive. We are at the cutting edge of what's going on in business," you should be participating in this type of care for your employees. So,
absolutely.
Thank you again, Terry. You're the best. We'll talk soon. Thank you.
It was so great to see you.
My pleasure. Thank you, those of you who are watching, listening, and we'll see you again real soon, probably next week. So thanks.